Okay, so here's some challenges. Bitcoin faces some unique challenges. First, there are competing motivations from within the industry, from within the different leaders in the space. Some are more libertarian leaning, pushing for a libertarian or anarchic utopia. Some are more bankers and financiers and investors that are part of traditional Wall Street and the corporate world, and they're looking for how they can capitalize on Bitcoin. And neither are really wrong. Some are just trying to push Bitcoin forward and usher in something new altogether, a whole different new world, without even knowing like what's going to happen or where it's going to go next. And that wouldn't matter if Bitcoin was small, like $1 or less, but it's over $1 trillion in value, I think close to 2 trillion, if not more at this point. And while it's true that the squeaky wheel gets the grease, there are a bunch of squeaky wheels. This isn't really a weakness or a threat. It's just a challenge that people are overcoming by pioneering in the space and carving out their own niche and letting the market decide if there's a market for it or if there's success. Second are regulations and laws. These continually slow down Bitcoin's inevitable adoption. If tighter regulation and stricter laws continue, Bitcoin's use in first world countries could be seriously hampered. It doesn't mean it'll stop Bitcoin, because I don't think Bitcoin can be stopped unless people stop using it. But with countries like Japan, who have been 100% all in Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies, other countries, let's say like the US, run the risk of kicking out an entirely nascent industry only to show up in another country, maybe a competitor, economic or military, which is one of the things I think that motivates the US. Third, competition. It's possible, dare I say it, something better than Bitcoin or even any of the other more promising cryptocurrencies out there emerges and replaces everything. You can't really rule that out. The only thing that you can expect in the future is the unexpected, because nobody can predict or prepare for what's happened at this point or what's going to come in the future. We don't know. We can make guesses, educated, but maybe there's a new technological breakthrough. Maybe when we start mining some of these asteroids in space, we find a new metal that, I don't know, that takes all of our levels of electrical payloads or whatever, takes all our existing technologies and shoots it into the future 100 or 1,000 years. Well, that would be a game changer for sure. But I don't think cryptocurrency itself as an idea and the base code is going anywhere anytime soon. It just, in a way, seems like it came on a little too early. Satoshi was a little ahead of his time, if you will. But as of now, the smartest people in the room are trying to find the best legal, beneficial ways to use it, to capitalize on it, and benefit the world. And we're getting closer and closer to that every day. Okay, how can Bitcoin fail? Because Bitcoin can fail. One way is the code could break. I just briefly mentioned that before, but even though this is unlikely, it's within the realm of reason. Before they implement each new line of code, they test it in a test environment, which is identical to a live production environment. And if it's stable there even for a while, then it's likely not going to cause any other problems. But that's not guaranteed. Sometimes code behaves differently in a test environment than a live production environment, even though it shouldn't. Another way that Bitcoin could fail is discontinued use. If people stop using Bitcoin, then the experiment fails. I really can only see this happening if all the industries that Bitcoin touches improve dramatically, quickly, faster than it takes for Bitcoin to do the same for it and replace it. But I don't see that happening anytime soon, because there's not enough motivation, brain power, or money that can get them to all of a sudden make these radical changes overnight. Compared to me and the other fanatics in Bitcoin, I don't think it's going to happen. Concentration. So if too many Bitcoins stay in too few hands, then it's likely Bitcoin won't ever fulfill its true destiny or potential. Really, we need Bitcoin to be as widely distributed to as many people as possible, so that no one group has enough to kind of push everyone around and move the market. They call these whales, really, more market movers. I think we were in that stage right before futures were implemented in 17 and 18, but we're moving closer to it being more distributed, but I don't know. I can't say that for sure. An apocalyptic or extinction level event. This could make Bitcoin fail. If something happened where an EMP hit a central grid in a major country or across multiple countries, if a nuclear war happened, we would be in really big trouble. Catastrophe like a meteor or tsunami, earthquake, something to that extent. Bitcoin technically can still survive if this is the case, because there'd be satellites outside the Earth's atmosphere that would still be doing things, and if you could access them, along with radio frequencies. That's a frequency that we don't see that we can still use, whether there's a disaster or not. It still exists, We can use radio frequencies. So what I'm saying is, you probably never heard this before, but you can still use Bitcoin on a radio frequency. You can send Bitcoin back and forth. It's not that popular, obviously, because, well, we have the internet and it's a lot better and easier and faster. But there's not to say that the internet won't ever crash or get unplugged, which I seriously doubt, but I would be dishonest if I didn't at least mention as a possibility. And frankly, if any of those things happen, or even if we lost the internet, we all would be in a world of hurt, and not just could we be extra irritable. It would be a really big problem. And Bitcoin would be the last of our worries at that point. I do think there are more weaknesses, challenges, and threats, and potentially ways Bitcoin can fail, but these are just the main ones that I've chosen to cover in this video right now. So I hope that gives you some perspective and kind of balances the equation, or the other foot dropped for you about Bitcoin. The next section that I'm going to talk about is an entirely new section called Investing in Bitcoin. I think this is probably one of, if not the top reasons that you might be here to hear this next section, Investing in Bitcoin, how I did well investing in it, how you can potentially do really well investing in it as well. Maybe the thing that you were looking for the most was, what is Bitcoin? But either way, I think you're going to like this next section. So without further ado, we'll talk about investing in Bitcoin next.